Hi, everybody. Today is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025, and our friend Andrei Martyanov is back with us. Welcome back, Andrei.
My pleasure.
Andrei, let's start with what's going on in Ukraine. It's somehow amazing what is happening and the protest against corruption and all of that.
Uh,
What has happened for more than 3 years of the conflict in Ukraine, the war in Ukraine that literally destroyed the society, the country? Nobody came out. Nobody was talking about anything. What's going on right now with Zelensky and with the society in Ukraine that we're seeing protests again, massive protests against corruption in Ukraine?
they're not really that massive. They are paid off. It's a classic Ukrainian, repetition of Maidan. They are paid. So they are paid by all kinds of other, organizations like Soros Fund and all that. Don't forget those Nabu or whatever SPU, whatever the hell the name of those, funny organizations are Western creations. So Zelensky cracked down on them because, well, yeah, they might. Their narrative is changing, as we already understand. So, and yeah, somebody paid to those, creeps. They went out, pretended that they showed that they're demonstrating against, yeah, it's all kabuki theater. It's nauseating. It's what Ukraine or whatever is left of it is in nature. So yeah, I wouldn't pay too much attention on this. No, there will be no any kind of popular, uprising or anything. They don't do anything for free. They love to get paid and love to get some, a profit out of it. So anybody who concentrates too much on that, yeah, I have a bridge to sell them, really. So it's not that significant, but yeah, it's happening. I can tell you what would have been the really something which would explain to you the issue of Zelensky regime. And if somebody will start to find, all kinds of the armed partisan or guerrilla groups, fighting against it, no. Nobody fights against him. And so it's all about what kind of crooks are sitting in Kiev. Because the only thing, the statehood or statesmanship in Ukrainian definition is how to steal. That's it. They always were stealing. So they, in 1991, they were left with the country which was prosperous, had a really large economy. It was the largest European economy with the exception of Russia, and they had the modern armed forces and all that. Look what happened in 30 years. They destroyed everything, stole everything, so they robbed everything, and there you go. So it's not that big of a deal, honestly.
Andre, when we see the mainstream media, how they're covering what's going on in Ukraine, you look at Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, and you name it, Al Jazeera, even Al Jazeera was reporting on it. It's somehow Financial Times. All these outlets are reporting on what's going on in Ukraine. What is happening to Zelensky? Are they trying to prepare the public opinion to remove him from power, in your opinion?
Well, possible, yeah. The narrative certainly changed, and there is hysteria in Kiev. I need to read it completely on this article. That's why I had to subscribe to this rag. You cannot even use it as the toilet paper, the New York Times. But even they just published something which is, talks about the, relatively objectively about what they try to do in Kursk Oblast, especially against the civilians. So there's a hysteria, obviously, and they probably understand. Zelensky understands that. Well, he was in this position for a long time now. He is, as you can see yourself, he is not normal mentally, and he knows probably, or if not if he doesn't know, he definitely senses that he's a dead man walking, and it's just a matter of how he will be offed, either just politically or politically and physically, because obviously Washington is interested now to, it's all ledger domain on part of Trump administration, because they still exercise this idiotic idea that they can somehow, change the outcome. They can't. So, but the only thing they can do, because they're not very bright people in Washington, let alone in London, is that, maybe we have to change, this SOB to, substitute with the other SOB who would follow our instructions. Strategic aim of both Trump and whoever he surrounded himself with, of course, to preserve Ukraine as some kind of the, bridgehead, so to speak, and to be used as a ramp against Russia sometime in the future. Russians know it. It's the kindergarten level. Well, again, they don't do strategy really there. They don't know what it is. But I mean, Russians know this is all, hustle and those pathetic maneuvers on the level of the kindergarten, to pretend that, oh yeah, we're going to change, from Zelensky to somebody. What's going to change? Nothing. I mean, nothing. The only thing they're trying to accomplish, Trump is not trying to get the peace settlement. Many people still do not understand. He talks about it, but he doesn't. And it's all about ceasefire and somehow rearming Ukraine and maybe preserving some kind of the kernel, so to speak, kernel of this whatever the virtual country to be used later. So yeah, that's what is this all about. Russians are absolutely keenly aware of this. They knew it from the start of the special military operation. It's just that the dynamics, again, Pentagon is utterly militarily incompetent, and as the result, you saw yourself what happens. And Zelensky, in this case, is just the pawn, but the pawn which tries to get himself, into the queen position, running across the whole chessboard and somehow to save his pathetic life. He probably will die physically, but who cares? I mean, it's like trash in, trash out. That doesn't matter.
You think that they want to put Zelensky in his position?
Well, there are some certain group of the imbeciles from London, and they think that Zelensky somehow is going to, be more, how to say it, cooperative on this. Yeah, sure, the guy is a butcher. He is not very bright, but sure, they can play with those figures. Again, you have to understand, average Washington's or London strategists, so to speak, the only thing they can do is basically the personalities. They shuffle personalities. They do not understand what policy is. Policy, not politics. There's a tremendous difference between politics and the policy. And so none of them is capable. If you look attentively at all those think tanks, all those, advisory boards, all those national security councils, these are amateurs. They never encountered any kind of the serious event in their life, such as the scale of the special military operation, and they go back to what they did always. Well, I mean, we remember that actually British, Churchill especially, were promoting Charles de Gaulle tremendously during World War II, to the point that Charles de Gaulle actually complained that, I'm being marketed as that piece of soap. So that's the quote. He was like, and the same is happening here. They think that, somehow they can put this guy somewhere in the position of power in Ukraine, and something's going to change. Nothing is going to change. Strategically, that means, long term with the political aims of the defeating Russia, it's not gonna change. Tactically, it might change. Maybe they will teach the Zelensky dude, to go out and say correct words. Well, guess what? Trump says correct words all the time. We know it's complete BS. That's what they only capable of doing in Washington and in London and in Europe, for that matter. So it makes no strategic difference. Strategic aim. They call it strategic. It's not, they don't have strategy to achieving it, but strategic aim, long-term, global aim of the West is to defeat Russia. Russians know that, and But I mean, obviously nobody in Washington heard about Mr. Svechin, or let alone, read any serious Russian thinkers. So they think that they're smart. Good luck to them.
And they're having negotiations, Andre, in Istanbul. And the foreign minister of Turkey said that they're trying to reach a ceasefire. How
Yeah.
is that gonna? What does that mean for Russians? What is that is that somehow the main objective of the negotiations, or you see something else coming out of Russian objectives or Russian main goal in these negotiations, or these sort of attitude they're having? Because after all, I believe that they want something bigger than what's going on in Ukraine, something
Russian,
that the United States, between some sort of understanding between the East and the West. In my opinion, Russia wants some sort of security, some sort of understanding, mutual security between the East and the West. Your take on that?
well, I mean, December 2021. The list of Russian demands, as presented by the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs of Russian Federation, never changed. The only thing changed is the situation on the ground, and that's it. I mean, root causes. Soon Vladimir Putin, Lavrov, Zakharov, everybody will be like, they will have a blister on their tongue repeating this. Root causes. What are root causes? Expansion of NATO. What is the basically where NATO has to go? To the borders of 1997. What is the deal with Ukraine? Totally demilitarized, maybe some small armed forces, practically armed police, basically, that's what it is, and neutral. And now Russians say, actually, even EU, they say, nah, EU is not on plans anymore. The time when Russians will say, yeah, go and join EU, whatever you want, is also gone. So, and obviously neutral status, that's it. And of course, recognition of the realities on the ground. And the realities on the ground that Ukraine will lose more territories. It already lost more territories. Russians control huge, very substantial chunks of Sumy Oblast. They are already in Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, in Kharkov. So it's like, yeah, same old, same old. And that's why I don't even pay attention to those, so-called negotiations. And those negotiations have been imposed on Zelensky by Trump. Whatever Trump uses, blackmail or whatever, what have you, So, just again, it's primarily PR. Russia says, sure, let's communicate. Here's a memorandum. Here are demands. Do you want to adhere to those demands? No? Bye-bye. So the only thing they primarily discuss there is the humanitarian issues, such as their bodies exchange, their taking POWs, returning, things of this nature. So, but I mean, strategically, how you do not talk to puppet, it's just, it's not serious. And that's what Trump doesn't understand. He's not very bright, as it turned out to be. He thinks that by creating this, hustle, diplomatic hustle, all foreign ministers go out, this Turkish guy, Fidan, or whatever the name of him, he's talk about that, oh yeah, we need to reach this, and it's really rinse, gargle, spit, repeat, and same old, each time. Nothing changes except for Russian ground situation on the ground in former Ukraine, period. So, and nothing will come out of it again except for some movement here and there in terms of the humanitarian issues, because the Russia said, Peskov stated, yeah, at some point of time, the the summit between Putin and Trump will be needed, but not until huge, he says, huge job is done in preparing, because just to meet for, photo office, Putin is not going to waste his time, just making any kind of the handshakes with Mr. Trump. And Trump cannot be trusted anyway. Russians know who Trump is. So it's all fodder for media who repeat same old, oh, he said, we want peaceful settlement. Okay, they said it last time too. And they said it yesterday and day before yesterday. And everybody says that. And nothing changes except for Russian. Well, it's not offensive. Russians just moving, there. Well, you can call it offensive, obviously, but it's, a steady movement to the west. And so we have now Konstantinovka and Pokrovsk about to be invested completely. So, yeah, just talking points for the talking heads who have no clue anyway about any kind of the strategic issues, real strategic issues. So that's what it is.
Andrei, do you feel that Donald Trump somehow, it doesn't seem that he's that much involved in the case of Ukraine? He just let it go, and he every time he talks about the conflict in Ukraine, he just repeats whatever he was telling us for 6 months now, and nothing new coming out of his mouth, nothing else. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, you see Europeans are so much, they're in details of what's going on in Ukraine. They, whenever they're talking about Ukraine, it seems that the communication between the Zelensky administration and European is much more it is much more connected comparing to that one with the United States. Why is that? Why isn't the case of Ukraine is not a somehow a concern for the United States?
No, it is concern. Make no mistake. Trump obviously talked, but again, we have to consider his mental state, and we know he's a extreme narcissist, and yeah, especially like you said, all those missiles which do not exist. He invents them like as he goes. Slower missiles and higher speed, high velocity missile, whatever the heck he's talking about. But no, Europeans are brainwashed, most of their population anyway. I'm not saying that all of them are, but most, majority. And it's classic Europe. Europe wants war with Russia because obviously their so-called elites, they can see how the power is slipping through their fingers, and they're whipping their constituents, whipping up into this frenzy. Mr. Lavrov talks about frenzy. It's a Russia-hating frenzy. Europe wants war. It will get a war. And we have to say it now openly that there will be what we would call war. Those idiots, considering what you consider their armed forces and which are pathetic, honestly, and their military industry, which is also pathetic. But they still believe that they somehow can gather those armies. They can draw, all those, kinds of their, European youth, march against Moscow because Russians, those subhumans, that's how majority of population of Europe views Russians, sit on those, more than third of the world resources. Well, obviously, by definition, Europeans have to have them. They don't understand that it's 2025, it's not 1939, and that, well, at some point of time, Germany has to be, and it will be militarily wiped out, so, and including its probably political elite. After that, I don't know what it's going to be. No foot of Russian soldier will again step, or no any drop of blood will be spilled by Russian soldier on the European soil. So it will all will come down to basically decapitating the military political top of NATO, while telling United States actually to sit calmly behind the ocean. And after that, we'll see what's going to happen. But the point is, the caliphates are already forming in France. It is in United Kingdom, south of United Kingdom, and so it's happening there. So their elites are corrupt. Their law enforcement and so-called intel services are corrupt. So, and yeah, this is a perfect storm, so to speak, for those elites to whip them up, into frenzy, which is happening. And Maria Zakharova's 2 days ago speech about Germany, and it's a warning. Many people have to listen to this speech. This is the most eloquent statement of the foreign policy of Russian Federation in the last 10 years. She tells directly to Germans, you still have a little bit of time left to save yourself. To save from what? To save from destruction. Russians do not even need to use nuclear weapons. Germany will be simply wiped out together with whatever is there. And Berlin evidently lived too long in the peaceful, under peaceful conditions. But that's what Germans want. They want their revenge. They So it's a complex issue, but that's what is happening right now. And they're getting prepared for this on their own, because obviously they are incompetent people. They do not understand how war works. They will not learn anything, because they actually swallowed hook, line, and sinker their Ukrainian propaganda. They think that, oh, look at this, Russians barely moving. They lost 100 million people. The Ukrainians shoot down Kinzhals and hypersonics each time. So yeah, they believe this because they are incompetent people. Their military education is a joke. I mean, British or German. Did you see the Bundeswehr's new Inspector General, who's Chief of General Staff? He looks like Goebbels. But Goebbels was pretty bright, the evil but bright. This guy is dumb as a stump, So, and that's who those people are. And at some point of time, they will decide to, strike Russia, which they will. And Russians will respond in kind, but this will be responding at the centers of the making decisions. In this particular case, it's, Reichstag probably should go once and for all, So, and that's what is happening.
She said, Maria Zakharova said that we were trying to forgive you for what you've done to Russia. And we were trying to build a new relationship with Germany. But it doesn't seem, Andrei, you look at Germany. I don't know if you saw the interview that the German journalist had with Tucker Carlson. Even those people who are writing for the German people, who are informing the German, they're not informing. I don't know what's happening to Germany. It's somehow, it seems that it's collapsing from within. You cannot understand the level of what's going on in Germany.
The population is brainwashed. German culture, as in general, Western European culture, is highly conformist. So it's very easy to manipulate them. And again, I mean, they voted for that. And the only people who evidently have some survival instincts left for them are in former GDR, because Soviets never killed the Germanness of Germans there. They obviously feed them into their, so to speak, socialist framework, socialist mode of production. But there was a German culture. There was always, the praise, of the German culture, ranging from, great composers to philosophers and things of this nature, literature, what have you. In West Germany, it's completely different now, and they vote time after time after time to people who screw them, over, and they are basically, well, they're mentally unstable people, and then scratch the German. I know it shouldn't be the broad brush, painted over the with the broad brush, but yeah, it's true. Scratch the German, you'll get the IDSS or Wehrmacht officer. Look at the elite; they are all relatives of IDSS or Wehrmacht, and their phrase of Zhukov to Marshal Rokossovsky in Berlin. People say it never happened, but actually, some say that they heard it. It did happen. Some sources which have been close to them, that Zhukov stated to Rokossovsky, "We liberated them from Nazism, and they will hate us for this." So the trauma of being absolutely demolished by the Red Army, it never went away. And then NATO. First, all NATO doctrines have been written by Wehrmacht officers, Wehrmacht generals. And of course, it was used essentially to turn Germany into what it is today by the West. And Germany is the first candidate of the European country to be basically, I don't know what's going to happen. I know militarily what's going to happen. I know what it will take to do this. But Germany is essentially lost, and German nation, as we know it, is essentially no more, except for those fanatics in Berlin, and most of them anyway, be them from Christian Democratic Union to or SPD, it doesn't really matter. Grüne, they are fanatics and they are globalist party, which is so. And most of them, they do not understand the war. They don't understand how it all works. The only thing they know is how to perpetuate this suicidal agenda, cultural agenda, which also, yeah, I would say it's cultization of the nation. So, and yeah, well, German people can continue to drink beer and go watch their football matches in Bundesliga, and that's about the level they need. They're cattle, basically. So I know it sounds very, insulting, but there are people in Germany, Germans who understand what is happening, who suffer because of that, and who try to do something about it. They are minority. I will not say that they are minute minority, but they are minority. And I mean, I don't know percentages, okay, probably 10-15%, okay. It's a significant number overall, but no, you just cannot change anything until which they probably will get to the point of a complete Weimar and soup kitchens lines, and so then maybe, but then again, once that happens, they need to go and march towards Russians, kill Russians, and get those resources. The scenario is always the same because it is perpetuated by those fanatics from both Berlin, Washington, and London. They do not know more. They are primitive, creeps, basically, very uneducated, highly uncultured.
Andrei, Donald Trump is somehow bragging about the arm production, the missile production in the United States. Here is what he said.
Otherwise, we wouldn't. We need ammunition. We're going to end up in a few months, we'll have more ammunition than any country has ever had. We're going to have more missiles than any country has ever had. We're going to have all the speedy missiles. We'll have the speedy ones, the slow ones, the accurate ones, the ones that are slightly less accurate. We have everything. But we will have more ammunition than any country has ever had. It's very important to me.
By the way, he forgot about the beautiful ones.
Beautiful, yeah, and very, very beautiful ones. Yeah. Listen, I know it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. You have the kindergarten kid sitting there inventing things that, oh, my dad is the steam locomotive driver. My dad is the works at the metallurgical plant or something like that. And then the guy comes, my dad is astronaut. He just flew to the moon and came back. I mean, so it's not even bragging. It's kindergarten. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. Everybody knows Russians have had that field day yesterday with all that, and day before. It's I don't know what universe this guy lives in, but many people have to resign themselves to the idea, which it was been. I wrote about it also during his first term, especially when he appointed Mr. Bolton as his national security advisor, and then of course Mad Dog Mattis, this guy, the Marine Corps general who never won anything in his life. I mean, but Trump said he looked cool in uniform and spoke, just like. So it was clear that the guy is utterly incompetent, and he doesn't understand what he's talking about. He doesn't know war. He doesn't understand modern technology or the 21st century warfare. And there is nobody who can break through this bubble to explain to him that, Mr. President, you are embarrassing your country. Russians are having Homeric laugh for the last 48 hours listening today. U.S. military industrial complex cannot produce a freaking shells enough, and they try to ramp up production. In terms of the missiles, it's laughable. United States lost the arms race by a mile, and U.S. missiles, and yeah, it's just, and you know what? It's the guy probably thought that the parade, the humiliation of the U.S. Army, which was absolutely he shouldn't have done this, to his armed forces. Then the whole world laughed at it, and he thought that it was great. You cannot change it. You cannot bring the guy who is essentially showman and New York real estate shyster. He is, and who is not very good businessman. He was declaring his bankruptcies left and right, and if not for his father's money, he probably would have been already in some kind of jail or what have you. But yet here we are. He wouldn't understand the difference, and it's not only him. The whole establishment is like that. I mean, they are infested with the narcissists and people who have no clue, including U.S. military. I mean, Pentagon, those generals, it's laughable. So, and okay, what can I say? We had our, circus performance yet again. We'll probably have many more in coming months.
When you're the president of the United States, I would argue a great country, why do you need to brag about something that doesn't exist? That doesn't.
It's not. It's the nature of the narcissism. The traits of narcissism are extremely well described in psychiatry and in the psychology literature. One of those critical traits of the narcissist, especially such an extreme case of Trump, is that those people, narcissism is a worse side of the complex of inferiority. He probably senses it, but because he's narcissist and he constantly have to reassert himself by, at some point of time, inventing things which are not there. He cannot live without it. He always needs to be the top dog, to, just something absolutely, everybody admires and everybody praises, and that's narcissism. And as the result, if you listen, I introduced this in my blog. Candice DeLong, famous FBI profiler. She also was, for many years, one of the anchors of the number of the crime shows, especially with the really twisted character, not some kind of garbage, like, oh yeah, he came in and killed. No, she with the describing the psychological profile, the portrait of people, both of the victim and usually the killer, the murderer, and she spoke about this, about narcissism. That at some point of time, they begin to live in the alternative universe. Because for them to accept reality is to essentially collapse. They just probably will have the complete mental background and then the serious psychiatric disorder. And Trump is the exhibit A of this. And as the result, the more his age progresses, and the more he probably gets the real situation on somebody probably should be delivering him that. For example, Tulsi Gabbard, maybe, they say, yeah, we got our ass kicked in Ukraine. Yeah. And somebody has to tell him that no matter how United States tries to do anything, it cannot ramp up anything to even reach again, let me put it this way. Russia produces, in terms of the high precision weapons and smart standoff weapons, order of magnitude, not several times, order of magnitude more than whole NATO, United States, including combined, produces. And just think about it. And they cannot understand, they cannot wrap their brains around it, because again, if you grew up from the real estate market in New York, which is essentially gotcha, that's the only thing. And it's a mafia-ridden, essentially a sector of New York economy, if you wish. So what do you expect? He thought it was like, he's a godfather and everybody has to, admire him. He won the second term. And again, for him, that's the achievement. Whatever the policies, whatever he tries to do and achieve something tangible for the country, let alone the international arena. I would freaking smack Netanyahu's face, or just crush the chair, on his head when he was humiliatingly, it's like mocking, gave him the letter to Trump that he will be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. This is the guy who supports genocide in Gaza. What do we know? Come on. That's and now, of course, we know the other thing, which are Epstein files, and how they handled, as amateurs that they are. And of course, they're hiding things, but, what can I say? Let other people deal with this who know more about it. But yeah, news on that front are not good for Trump. They are simply not good. And the people who surround him. So he's a loser. in reality. But he managed to, by BSing people again, to get to the office. But then again, look at the quality of the U.S. presidents. Starting the last president who was a president, you may disagree with him, was George H.W. Bush, Bush Sr. And after that, what do we have? Free Willy, probably pedophile, Clinton. Then we have Dummy W, neocons. We have Obama, who screwed up country so badly, and instead of addressing serious economic problems, he just made other people, who actually precipitated this crisis, he made them even richer. So then you put Trump, and then we have Biden. Look at this. It's a panopticon. It's a circus figures. And it was Clinton who was presiding over the, signing the law of the Proposition 4444 of the ascendance of China to World Trade Organization, essentially the vacuum cleaner, which legally, after Congress passed it, legally sucked out practically most of the industries to China. And that's when it all started in earnest. So, and you look at this like, good Lord, why don't we ask Ronald McDonald to be the next president? At least, he may lower the prices on the Big Mac, in McDonald's. That's about it. Will not harm you any more than what those people are doing, So, and yeah, that's the result. Narcissism is not a bug, but the feature of Washington, D.C. And this goes for Europeans too. These idiots who are becoming paupers, their cities smell with urine, they have their third world and Sharia law imposed on the parts, and that's who they are. They still believe that they are great, and they are not.
Andrei, when it comes to the reality of the military-industrial complex of the United States, Donald Trump was talking about long range, short range, and more accurate and less accurate missiles. But what we know about the capability of the United States, we've learned from ATACMS in Ukraine. And ATACMS are produced by Lockheed Martin, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And 300, 500 a year.
Yeah, they have the kind of extended range of 500. It's a high supersonic. It's not hypersonic. High supersonic ballistic missile, essentially. It can correct itself during the flight, but again, it's a standard. Russians had actually Tor-M2, which is the short-range air defense complex, shooting down those ATACMS. So it's a standard together with HIMARS. It's a standard target for Russian air defense, and United States not even in the same universe. Forget about galaxy in terms of air defense with Russia. And in terms of missiles, what do you have? You have standard, intercontinental ballistic missiles, such as Minuteman III, which is, but of course, a strategic weapon. But other than that, what? Good old Tomahawk, JASSM. Well, yeah, they will make JASSM the extended range, which is about 900 kilometers. It's nowhere near in the Russian capabilities. And again, just to give you an example, XBD, which is KHBD, which is already serially produced and is on the first-line bombers using it, has a range in excess of 8,500 kilometers. So the Kinjal has the 2,000 kilometers plus. Zircon has 1,500 kilometers. And these are missiles which could be used also as anti-shipping missiles. There's nothing like this in. They are still, this old story, which lasts now, 4 or 5 years probably, long-range hypersonic weapon. They still are deploying it. And they still cannot put it, and it's ridiculous, okay? And that's when I say that United States lost the arms race. It lost it by a mile. I'm not exaggerating, probably by 2 miles. And in terms of missile weaponry, it's nowhere near Russia. It's not even funny. It's not even fair to compare the capabilities and arsenal. And when you look attentively at Russian missile arsenal, and you will see yourself that, my God. So, and in terms of artillery, I'm not going to go there too. So, And there are other things which require a very, so to speak, focused, special, conversation about them.
Andrei, is there any differences between the short-range air defense systems and long-range air defense systems when it comes to their ability to shoot down fighter jets and drones?
Of course, yeah. For example, Tor M2, although it has now extended capabilities, it is essentially what used to be the army or troop air defense. This thing just runs together with you, with your, say, battalion column. You can have a couple of those complexes which are there. They can shoot while moving, which is very interesting thing. They have the range of up to, today, I believe it's up to 14 kilometers, and the elevation of up to 7 to 8. They can certainly shoot the aircraft, but primarily they are good at the shooting all kinds of the drones, and of course the things like cruise missiles, especially low-flying objects. So then, of course, there's Panzer. Panzer already has a much longer range, and they have the arsenal with what's called the missile, which is Gvozdь. It's called nail. It's very cheap, but it's very effective against drones. And of course, they have the regular missile, which operates up to 30 kilometers now. So that's already kind of pushing it, but it's short range. Middle range, such as Buk M3, they already go to 70, 80 kilometers, and they can shoot pretty much most of it. But of course, the monsters are such as S-400 and 9N68 missile, especially if it's used there. It can shoot down targets in excess of 400 kilometers. And some of those planes, which the Ukrainian Air Force lost, they could have been shot down by S-400, not to speak about, obviously, Su-57 or Su-35, which carry hypersonic R-37 with 400-kilometer range. So those are already very serious missile systems, and they can shoot. They have arsenal of different missiles for different applications, and they can shoot anything, including their ballistic missiles of their intermediate range, up to 5,000-kilometer range from their when they launched from 5,000 kilometers. Many people do not understand. They shoot them at probably the terminal phase of the 125 to 200 kilometers and elevation above 25 kilometers. But it is S-500, which has full-blown anti-intercontinental missile capability. That means it shoots multiple independent re-entry vehicles of the intercontinental ballistic missiles. That is, the United States has nothing which even thought is a joke compared to that. So, and yeah, there's all kinds of other things that, and again, it also matters how you integrate this. And Russians have fully integrated multi-layer, what is called echelon air defense. And yeah, NATO doesn't have anything even remotely, comparable to it.
Andrei, you mentioned the case of Epstein, but we have the other case, the Russia Gate, and it seems that the internal policy of the United States, what's going on between Donald Trump and Democrats, are somehow bringing up the Russia Gate, and it shows how it's amazing. You see how they're sacrificing everything in terms of some sort of achievement, domestic achievement. And looking at the Russia Gate, it's all about defeating your rival in the election. And it's all, how do you feel that? It seems that for Russia it's good because they're fighting each other, but they're showing how they were building lies in order to somehow smear the picture of Russia and the way that because Vladimir Putin said over and over that Russia was not involved. Russia doesn't care about who's going to be the president of the United States, because after all, the same people would decide about the foreign policy of the United States.
Well, I mean, Obama administration was an organized crime group, which was also in DNC, and anybody who had half brain functional or even 1% of the brain function in 2016, 2017 already knew. It was a complete spectacle. And it's like, oh, hello. I mean, it took what, 10 years almost 10 years to figure this out. Everybody knew it. Everybody knew that it was sabotage. It was the state high treason. It was the treason against Constitution. The question here is, yeah, they presented as if we didn't know that. Who is going to answer? Trump again BS's public that Obama should go behind bars, which he should actually, including with those DNC creeps, No, he will do nothing again. It is all about this political theater. They're throwing the bone to MAGA crowd, which obviously is very, very dissatisfied with how United States is a slap beach of Israel and how it is controlled by Israel and Trump administration and Epstein file. So the country, the political system, which is infested with the pedophiles and foreign intel assets, and which cannot defend its own children, make your own conclusions. What kind of country is that? I've lived in the United States for more than 30 years. It used to be a different country. I do not recognize this country anymore. And this is probably one of the symptoms, not symptoms, indications of the collapse, which is already happening. And it's implosion. It's complete loss of the trust in the institutions. And when you have even so-called, well, it's not left, it's BS. The Democrats are not left, they're just globalist neoliberal party. But even when some of them say this must stop, well, you voted for those people. You voted for pedophiles all your life. And there are all of them on both sides, in Republican and Democrat party. Look at the Congress, good Lord. They're creep upon creep sitting there. We know they're corrupt. They're blackmailed, most likely by Israel. Look at Lindsey Graham. The guy is the moral freak. But fine people of South Carolina continue to elect this idiot. So, and what can I say? Yeah, it's collapse. It's basically disintegration of the political system. With it, it's actually the disintegration of the governance. Nobody can govern this country anymore effectively. It's not moving anyway. It's just there's an inertia. Good, fine people on the ground here. They're doing their thing. They go to work. They work and produce some value. Some of them, at least. So they pay taxes, and that's about it. The rest of it, it's the utter disgusting political theater, which is built around the most vile, the most criminal thing you can possibly think. Civilization, which throws its children as the altar of perversion, certainly doesn't have the right to exist. And this is what is happening. It's imploding. That is why MAGA crowd, and as I already stated, there are even people from the Democrats, the same people who actually played a very huge role in electing and promoting those people into their position of power. Even they say, well, this must stop. Well, too bad. It is too late, because the whole world knows that, the United States, the same as London, is pedophile center. So, how are you going to talk with those people? You do not want to shake their head. They should be behind bars. They will not be. And it will be covered up again. And that will completely destroy the remnants of any trust which society needs to have to function properly. But then again, United States was in decline for a while now. It's just that everything now is coming up like this and like, oh, Russiagate, yeah, we knew this. Oh, pedophiles, look at Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C. That's, look at U.S. British oligarchs. They're perverts, Oh, my God, as if we didn't know what was happening, So, yeah, there you go. And what can I say? It's sad, but it's the reality.
Andrei, do you think that from what we've seen so far and what Donald Trump was talking about, the 50 days, that he's going to do something, do you believe that, is it something in Ukraine? Is it something about the United States and the new attitude? Or maybe he's feeling that in 50 days, Russia would achieve something in Ukraine, would do something in Ukraine that is irreversible, or somehow convince the Europeans about the reality of Ukraine. What can we expect from that? Here is what the Trump administration is talking about, the 50 days on their agenda.
Negotiation happening, and it's in motion, then things can change rapidly. That the day you set up a window, 2 days later it can be different because of the conversations that have been had. So it's never a static, for most of us, if we make a plan, it's kind of a static plan for us. We have an appointment and we choose that day for the appointment next month. That's not the case here.
Yeah, she's literally justifying what Donald Trump said.
No,
just
no,
trying
actually,
trying
no,
to.
no, 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 no. What she says that, well, this red line is not quite the red line, and it's not set in stone. Trump pulled this number. I don't know why he didn't say 48 days. It's a good number, 48. 56 is excellent number, Or for that matter, 62. I would go with 62, but that's just me. The guy pulled it out of his ass. It's typical Trump. So now the State Department has to actually take the brunt of it. No, it's actually not quite that, because the only thing he can do is to impose 100% taxes on the countries which buy Russian oil. Well, guess what would, which already happened, a response from China to just go screw yourself. And it's going to hurt the United States way more than Russia. Russians are ready for any contingency. Militarily, United States cannot do a thing in there. So short of starting the World War III, which is nuclear, but then the United States will cease to exist. So that's what it is. We have the circus, okay? As I already stated, why 50? Okay, give it like, normal people say, 2 months. Okay, that's reasonable, okay? Or for that matter, well, something like, I don't know even how to go about it. So 50 days. He probably saw, 100 days, let's split it in two, let's give it 50. So let him introduce 100% tariffs on India, China, and others who buy Russian oil, and see what's going to happen. Militarily, U.S. is a paper tiger, and I've been on record for this for a long time. It still can, damage you. It certainly can basically wreck some third world country, but it's not into the fighting real wars. And and this is just the process which we already see for a while now. The guy comes up, throws in some kind of BS, and everybody like, so. And the State Department has to clarify things, So yeah, sure. Yeah. Russia don't care.
Andrei, we know that Lindsey Graham is trying to intimidate China, India, and Brazil to put pressure on them. And the level of understanding, by the way, on the part of it's not just about Lindsey Graham; it's about Donald Trump himself. When he talks about BRICS, it seems that he's talking about some little kids and they're just playing. And here is what he said about BRICS.
BRICS, it's fading out fast, but BRICS is, they wanted to try and take over the dollar, the dominance of the dollar and the standard of the dollar. And I said, anybody that's in the BRICS consortium of nations, we're going to tariff you 10%. And they had a meeting the following day, and almost nobody showed up. They said, "Leave me alone. They didn't want to be tariffed there." So it's amazing. No, we're not going to let the dollar slide. If we have a smart president, you're never going to let the dollar slide. If you have a dummy, that could happen. Like the last one, if you ever asked him about the dollar sliding, he would have no idea. But we can't let that ever happen again.
He's literally doing whatever it takes to let dollars slide, but he's saying
yeah, I mean, he's lying again. We are discussing the actions and the words, well, primarily words. He cannot act. United States doesn't have levers. What it's gonna do? Start war with Russia? Good luck. Do they want to start war with China? Good luck with that. No, I mean, the guy lies. He lies nonstop. He misrepresentation is lying by definition. So what can I say? We're discussing again kindergarten child. He's 79. He never grew up. His level of maturity is that of the 18-year-old, the bully from some campus or some for the retards. And so there you go. we constantly discussing the guy who we have to, everybody, Russians don't pay attention to him anymore, just whatever he says, yeah, sure, yeah. He next day he will say that, oh, I just went to Mars, found new resources, mineral resources there. We're going to occupy Mars or something like that. I mean, he can make up whatever he wants. And at this stage, he has become the embarrassment for the United States. That's the funny thing. In terms of Biden, everybody knew he was zombie. He had no brain left. He had hands of his wife, who is also dumb as a stump, doctor in education, Dr. Jill, his wife hand of Sullivan and Blinken up his ass and manipulating him. He didn't have a real thought about himself, which already discredited American political system around the world. But now we have the guy who is, I don't know, the kid. Yeah, that's who he is. Is it sad? Yeah, it's catastrophe for the United States. But there are no other people. They cannot be. There are no people of honor, integrity, knowledge, capability. Those who do, and you look at people like Thomas Massey or Marjorie Taylor Greene, they are minority. Majority of them are crooks who would sell their family for any kind of whatever they do. There are pedophiles running around there, so there are all kinds of double, triple agents working for the foreign governments. And so that's what is this whole situation boils down to. And yeah, the country in terms of governance, it's ungovernable country. But I warned about it a few years back. I said that the United States enters there during Trump's first administration. It enters the period of total ungovernance. It's ungovernable in the extreme. So you literally, the only thing which are happening there are pushing those legislatures which themselves do nothing to promote or save America from what is coming, like the big beautiful bill, whatever the hell. It's make other people rich, few of them. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
Andrei, when it comes to the Russian president and the links and the way that the situation between Russia and India, I don't know what is the understanding on the part of Russians when it comes to the pressure going from the United States to India? Do they have any sort of prediction? What would be the reaction if the United States tries to do the ultimate pressure, to put the ultimate pressure on India? I can, about Brazil, I can say that they're not going to be able to do it. In Brazil, if they do it, Brazil going to find the way to respond to the United States. But the only tricky country is India. How is that going to work for the United States?
I don't know. I mean, they try to obviously utilize India in its ambiguous, always ambiguous position, but that's what Indians do. They definitely have a very large pro-Western lobby there. But I'll give you one interesting fact, which is really interesting in the sense that Russia recognized Taliban. Not that they did it, because they admired Taliban, but because they said that's the reality. These are the guys who are running the country. And guess what Afghanistan is? Afghanistan is a very interesting, so to speak, entrance to the Eurasian subcontinent, if you wish. And Indians were operating in Afghanistan for a while too. So that may help, ensuing Indians, depending on how you approach whatever would be developed there, in favor of, BRICS, obviously. But India has one thing which is very, very serious for India. It's weapons and military technology. And this is primarily Russian. I mean, they buy all kinds of things, including this famous utterly corrupted deal with Rafales, and which was oh my God, that thing is epic, for so many years. But what can I say? They are tricky, and they may say today one thing and then they will change their opinion. But you know what? I'm not obviously a Russian diplomat. I obviously do not pretend to be the specialist in India. So, but from what I heard, and I know some Indians, there are many of those Indians whom I know. They say that no, we still have a very, very good relations. With Russia, we really kind of view Russia as our ally, and so that might play the role in the final decision of India, which will continue to play both sides. Make no mistake, they will try to avoid taking sides as long as possible.
Well, by the way, their foreign minister is so smart.
Yeah, he is extremely cultured man, and yeah, he is. I mean, State Department should learn from him. So, but yes, we have to wait and see. So, who knows? I cannot say it one way or another.
Thank you so much, Andrei, for being with us today.
My
Great
pleasure.
as always.
Bye bye.
Have a great day. Bye bye.